Hello, Roy. I'm Jack Dyson from Houston, Texas. I was a tail gunner and a waist gunner in World War II on the B-24s in the 445th Bomb Group. I trained as a gunner in Harlingen, Texas. I was put with the crew and sent overseas in September 1944. We landed in, I arrived in Stone, England. I didn't keep a diary of dates or anything, so I may be off a day or two, but I arrived in Stone, England, about the 5th or 6th of the 1st of October, something like that. I'd gone over on the biggest ship at that time, the Queen Elizabeth. We were lucky. We didn't have to have anybody watching us to keep the subs off, because the Queen Elizabeth could outrun any sub. Yeah. And so we had a good trip over. We were only 36. That big ship, only 36 non-com from the Air Force on that ship. And the interesting thing was, all they had anti-aircraft, Army soldiers, and in the tank battalion and everything. But there's 36 of us, so we had nice quarters like the officers, bird's eye maple walls and everything. And those other guys there, boy, they just couldn't stand us, because they had to give up their bed every 12 hours to somebody else out on the deck. But anyway, we made him, had a good trip over there. Then we got to Tiverton, I think about the 8th of October. I'm not sure, something like that. And
do you remember your first impressions of Tiverton then, when you got there? Your first impressions of the place when you got there?
Well, you know, when I got to Stone, I was amazed, that little place there at Stone. And we walked in town, and it was interesting. I was interested to see pubs, like we don't, now they have more pubs in some of the places we have in the States, more things. Of course, the scenery in England and all of Europe, I think there's beautiful scenery there. That's the first time I'd seen where they have a lot of fences made out of rock, fences made out of hedge. We have barbed wire here in the States, and I'd been on the farm part of my life, so that was beautiful. And we got into Tiverton and got assigned to a crew. We started working out there with their plane and practicing the formation flying over England. And I believe we made our first flight in December 1944. And we were replacements for we had that fatal flight in September 27th, 1924, where we lost 29 of 34 planes, went down over Germany, and I think 2 of the planes arrived back, shot up back to Tiverton, and 3 planes had landed other air bases couldn't get back to. And then another thing interesting, of course, then there was a lot of people. We had a high loss factor in the Air Force, in people, flight personnel there, and we were aware of that. And actually, I didn't plan to come back to the States. I thought I was going to go down. It was because we were aware that the high loss, and of course by that time we didn't have a problem with the fighters, the FW-190s and ME-109 mustn't mess us with anymore, because we had good fighter protection. The P-51s had come in over there, and you had the Spitfire, which was a fantastic plane. And so we had good protection that we didn't have before, but the anti-aircraft might have gotten a little worse, a little more dangerous. And that's where we lost most of our planes after I was over there, was the anti-aircraft. And I was a tail gunner, so that was a funny feeling. You sat in that tail, and you see those black puffs coming closer and closer and closer. You want that next one to ride on and give you a ride, So it made you think. And I had a good crew, very happy with it. But I was sick all the time. It didn't bother me. I planned to go the rest of my term sick. But the doctor, they finally took me off the crew after about 7 flights, and then I was made an instructor. But it was interesting. I know one time when I think it was every day we left, we had a Catholic chaplain over there, and he'd come out the end of the runway, and every day we'd take off, he was there, come in and wave at us, and I said, boy, the good Lord's taking care of us today, So on my 5th flight, on my 3rd flight, we took off out there. It was early morning, and just about sun up, and that chaplain wasn't there. And I says, oh my goodness, good Lord, I'm not gonna live. This is gonna be the one, because that chaplain's not out there. And I believe that would help carry me over through that. But so I checked my lady here, good Catholic here in Wyoming, to give me a St. Christopher's medal. I reached down to make sure I had that in my shoe. But it was interesting. Climate was different than what was used to.
Yeah.
We had a pretty cold, quite a bit of snow that year, and then after I flew my mission there, and I believe I was on maybe my 7th mission when they finally took me off. It was a heartbreaker. I just made it because we'd lived with that crew, and gone through it, and it just was really a heartbreaker. When we was on we made that third flight we made. It was they made us a B lead on the right, and then so they took my best friend, the nose gunner, and took him out and had taken our bombardier away from us when we first got over there, and he was a toggler, the nose gunner was. But when they made B lead, they took him off and put a bombardier on with us, and he put him on another crew. And less than a month after going to the crew, they went down. We weren't flying that mission. They went down. They were all lost. And that was my best friend over there. He was lost less than a month after he got off the crew. And but the rest of us stayed together in good shape. And everyone they made, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't get when the war was over before they got all their missions in. It seemed like they had 24, 25. But it was interesting in Great Britain. It was wonderful. When I first got there, I went to London on my leave. Went up to Blackpool, met a great English family. So after that, I'd planned that I had time off. I'd go down to London, and over there we had this nation hut with coal burning fires in our barracks. Well, you go in there, and we had a shower on the outside with windows in it. No cover for the windows, just plain old windows. It's cold over there, and sometimes we didn't have hot water for showers. We'd take a shower, and that cold, I got that stuff, Marshall. Every chance I'd go down to London and get me get a spa, get me a bath, and give me a workout and everything, and then before I'd go to Blackpool. But I really enjoyed him, and they were delightful to us over there. We had a lot of fun with the family in Blackpool named Robertson.
Oh. You said to me you had some good nights out in Norwich as well.
Oh yeah, we did. In fact, one time I had a date there, and you're restricted to base. And so one night I had dated, so I went out and crawled through the fence on the road, and got on buses, passed by there quite a bit, got me a bus in, and had my date, and I come back, and they got back in time for them to call us about 3:30 or 4 in the morning. No one knew about it, but I got to see my little lady friend that night. Yeah, we did crazy things, though, what you wouldn't do. We were a bunch of young little crazy kids. The British put up with us, and we did some wild things too. We were a bunch of characters over there. And I know this I've stayed this little blonde a few times, and she, I'd have a beer, mild beer or whatever, and she drank that orange drink that the British have over there. I'd never had before till I got over there and tasted it, but she drank the orange drink. But it was interesting. I was that was the same 445th is the one, Jimmy Stewart came over with there. They came over, went through South America and come over to Africa, and they came back up. I believe they had their first flight over Germany in December '43. I know the 93rd was over there. The division was over in 42, but they was over in, I believe, 43. And then Jimmy Stewart, when I got there, he'd already gone to his division 440 as an operation officer, I believe. But he'd come back. He'd always go into our sergeant club, and everybody looked forward if they find his name, run to the sergeant club. He'd always come over and visit everybody at the sergeant club. He was a great guy, highly respected. I had one guy there that he'd been flew on 24s in the Pacific. He came back to States and decided he wanted to go back over, and so he wouldn't go to England. He came over on the crew, Captain Linderman's crew, and he was a character. When it was on the ship going over in Queen Elizabeth, the English had for breakfast, they had lamb stew. I can't eat lamb stew. Just can't do it. Just can't to this day. And that little smart wreck, he went down in the hole of that ship, got that cook, and he said, Jack, if you get up at 1:30 in the morning, we did these things. He says, I can get you a breakfast. Shoot, I went that next morning. I got up and I went down way down to that ship, and I had eggs and they had bacon. I didn't know they had bacon on the ship. I ate fine the rest of the time. And when we got on that ship that time, he had bought a bunch of booze on Elizabeth, and he made his room into a bar, and he watered that stuff down, put water in it. He sold it for $3 a shot, about half water. Had them lined up at the table. And then when we was over from flying, before they finished their flights, before they finished their flights, he decided he was tired, he was tired enough, wanted to go home. So he started acting like he had asking for a Section 8. He went around with his hat, not on his head, his hand with a goose egg in it. Carried everywhere, trying to show that he wasn't mentally able to be incapable. But he is an interesting guy. So you got a bunch of us some crazy people over there too, you know. And I'll tell you one thing that was interesting. We had, when our president died here, and I was already gunner instructor at the plane. I was going out in the morning to take the guys out to shoot skeet. Went by, and some guys there, about 6 or 8 of them, English there, digging a hole down pretty deep. Oh, it's muddy all the time, I think. And so one of the guys says, well, it's a bloody shame you lost your president. I said, yeah. And one of the guys says, yeah, but it could be worse. It could have been Monty, because y'all got money. And I was there with Sonny Zimmerman. This guy was a fighter thing, and he grabbed him by 2 hands and threw him head first into the mud. But because we were sorry about it, we were really concerned about it. Yeah. That old boy shouldn't have said that to Sonny Zimmerman. He got his head full. But we did things like that. We went in, and I went into Piccadilly, and I sat there and going in, and young then, I see a girl in a movie. I'd go and sit by and talk, I wanted to talk to her, So
what did it feel like being an American in England? You were the movie stars, really, to the English. For instance, to girls in England, you must have been.
I never had any problem with English. One man, I was kind of a little pop-off. One time a man thought I was flirting with his wife, and he looked like he was upset, but they were great. They were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially in Norwich, they were excellent. Oh, they were just excellent. Sure were. And I've had there. Oh, another one that I remember. There was one man that in September 27th they cleaned out. We went into a barracks that had cleaned out all but one man, Jack Neighbors, the only gunner left in there. And so when I went on my first mission, I was on the top deck and he was on the bottom deck. He's shining his shoes. And he's from Massachusetts. And so I made some remark, I want to talk about that mission, but I was scared. And I told him, I said, well, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I just feel I'm concerned. I just hope I make it, hope and pray I can get through this mission, but I don't know what I'm going to do this Sunday. And I just got a feeling I may not make it. When I said that, Jack Neighbor said, Jack, the boys on that barracks up there that went down that mission, he said the same thing before he left that morning. That didn't make me feel any better.
That's very reassuring,
we did those things to each other over there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we had, I heard right here that when we went off to every morning, before we'd go into the actual mess hall, they said we'd have typically I'd have egg, fresh egg. Otherwise, powdered eggs all the time. But I'd have a fresh egg. I'd have toast, coffee. It's not like you was going to the last ride. Every time they sent us, I thought like that was it. This is just your goodbye breakfast, like you was going, like someone here was going to kill them in penitentiary. They give them a good meal. They give us a good meal before we ever went on that. On a trip this morning. So and we'd go in and we'd check on that early, and then we'd go in and go to a briefing, and go out of your briefing, go in there and go get your guns and check them, make sure they're cleaned and everything. And
so when you were going up on your first mission, and you thought, this is it.
Yeah.
What else was going through your head? If you thought this, was there at any moment when you went, I'm okay, this is going to be all right?
Well, I was, but some of the most beautiful things I've seen in my life, when we'd get up above the you'd have the bare pistol, Kenny, the red, the green, red, green, I think, to get into your formation. Interesting. beautiful, the rolling clouds. And one time, one of the most pretty things had flak was coming up through, popping up black, and all of a sudden here come one of your buzz bobs, and it looked like a corkscrew. And the sun came up, and here I thought, here we're going over to kill people, and this is the most beautiful sight I ever saw in my life. And it was good. I'd love to have that picture.
Yeah.
And another thing where I'm very weak, when we was in there one day, and we had I'd been there about 2 weeks. We practiced. I had been on a mission, and they had. I was trying to think the great singer we had here. I'm not thinking very good. Sang the song "White Christmas" on the radio.
Bing
and I was in the barracks. Shoot, I just go outside and run behind the barracks. I just cried like a baby out there. Bing Crosby sang it. Yes, and he done shit. I was at the so we had those moments like that over there. We did. Yeah. And then when we came back, my pilot, John Frank, I wasn't on the crew anymore, but he got to let me ride back with him. And when we came back from overseas, we stopped in Iceland, spent the night, and that was interesting. And you only have about, at that time in the 1st of June, the night's only about 30 minutes that you don't see the sun. It's light. So, that was interesting. Then went on from there to Greenland and spent the night there. That's where I got my first whole milk. So that's when I got me a quart bottle of milk. I just died from milk like we have here, you know. And so I had that in Greenland. Then went over there and landed in Connecticut. And I, like a lot of other people, when they hit the ground, I jumped down to kiss the ground. And that was kind of finished my trips overseas.
Did you feel like a hero when you came back to America?
I didn't feel thank you, I'm back.
And what was the first thing you did when you got back then?
Well, I was in Connecticut, and the first thing I did, I called my father. He was in Houston. Told him I was back, and he was, and I told him I didn't know, but I was heading home. Supposed to get 30 days leave, which I got. And he said, we're ready for it. We'll try to make things interesting for you when you get here. That's the first thing I did.
And what happened when you got back to Texas then? When you got back to Houston? Was there a party or?
Did a what?
When you got back home to Houston, was there a party? Or how did you celebrate coming home with your family?
We didn't. I'll tell you how I celebrated. My dad went over. He was dating a lady. My mother was dead. He was dating a lady that had a restaurant. Three Sisters Cafe, and she made me a big steak about 8 to 10 inches in diameter, and and we're big gravy. That's the first thing I did. I got me a steak and gravy when I came back. Yeah, that's interesting. And then of course after he got off there, we was placed up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and they were town of about 15,000 to 20,000. They